Hi, everybody. Welcome to episode 168 of Radio 815, the podcast dedicated to examining the work of writer, director, producer J.J. Abrams, as well as his extended Bad Robot universe. I'm Matt Crandall, here with Marcelo Inostroza, as we continue to watch Undercovers, the series from 2010. And today we are talking about episode 4 of the first and only season of Undercovers, entitled Jailbreak, written by Phil Klemmer, directed by Anthony Hemingway. This aired at October 13th, 2010. And Marcelo, how many fucking lists does the spy community have that can be stolen and decoded? Next thing you know, we're going to be trying to recover a spy's grocery list, because today we are talking about a guy who stole a list of all of the prisoner torture sites and who is being held at these, secretive spots. And if this gets out, then people will know where they can rescue their arrested terrorist buddy.
I was really disappointed with this episode because this episode really came off to me as a carbon copy of the last episode that we discussed, Devices. It's basically the same thing with a couple elements swapped out. I'm like, really, guys? Like the opening was interesting, being in I think we were in Liverpool with this sort of like dark figure talking on a phone to somebody, hiding a package somewhere. That was very cool. It really gave me Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol vibes. But I'm like, this episode was like it almost felt like a filler episode to me. It really, really did. So, and some of the issues that I have and that Matt had still happen. We spent way too much time with the fucking villains in this movie, or the adversaries of the week. I don't care about the adversaries of the week. Have Shaw come in, give the Blooms their mission, and then go. Why are we spending so much fucking time with these villains? Do the writers think that we need to feel sympathetic for the villains? Like, is that a thing? Help me.
It is a lot of the same complaints that I've had, and this especially because the last episode was about recovering the knock list, and this is a list of where all these prisoners are being held. Another list, and they need the guy who knows where the thing is. It's very similar, as you said, to Devices. And it is riffing Ghost Protocol light, because Ghost Protocol opens with a great jailbreak. And this has a jailbreak sequence where at first, when we see the guy in jail, I was like, is Sergey? Is not Sergey? I was like, is this going to be a Ghost Prots thing? And it's not nearly as exciting. We see the villain who had been caught then has this teddy bear with this powder in its eye, and he takes this to then escape from the medical bay. And it just makes walking out of these prisons look super easy, which is fine, because I didn't want to spend any more time on it. Because, as you said, we introduce the villain, and then there's like a girlfriend, and there's like a double cross and all this stuff. And I don't care unless we're dealing with the Blooms. Now, luckily, after this whole initial sequence, we do cut to Samantha and Steven, and we see that Lizzie has been being very nice and doing a lot of stuff. And the funny runner of this episode is that Steven is like, she's up to something. I'm a human lie detector. I can tell. $100 says she's going to ask you for money. And Sam is like, no, my sister's just nice. And I like this dynamic. In these talks, they do say, like, maybe she's drinking again. So we realize, like, Lizzie has had some sort of drinking problem in the past. And she's bad with money, and she's always begging for money. And then as the episode goes on, because it's just easier to kind of talk about this section all at once, she does ask for $700 for a cooking class. She's already made the check out to herself, and she just wants Sam to sign it. And I thought that was really funny that we're still in a time where, you know, you're going to get your family member to write you a check. Now it would just be like, well, for you guys in the States, hey, Venmo me the money. And we would just transfer it that way. But I also wonder, like, you know, she wanted it for a cooking class. If I'm Samantha, I'd be like, I'm not writing you a check. I will enroll you in this cooking class to make sure that your sister, who is flighty and has this weird past, is just going to cooking class and not going to go on a $700 bender. But I liked the interplay between Sam, Steven, and Lizzie, especially when Lizzie does hit her up for the money and she's like, Steven can never know. And then he walks in the room like 2 minutes later and he's got this look on his face and he's like, I'm the human lie detector. I know this shit has gone on. And he takes a bite of the apple. And I think that, you know, the thing that really works about this show is that Steven and Sam are so charismatic and likable that when they're bickering as a couple, like, I just love that shit. So every time they get to do stuff together, it's great. Of course, Shaw gives them the mission, and when he leaves the room, he makes a phone call. And this is the thing that we knew from the first episode, we haven't addressed in a few. What are you thinking when Shaw is on the phone with, you know, this mysterious voice, and he says, like, I think maybe we should tell the Blooms why they are actually here, why they have been re-engaged, because eventually these people aren't idiots. They're going to figure it out. So maybe we should get ahead of this. And the voice on the phone says, absolutely fucking not. We can't do that. So they are reigniting that mystery of why are they really here? How did you feel about that?
I really like the writers addressing the overall mystery box that they sort of introduced in the pilot of the show, or in episode 2. I think it was in the pilot. Because you can remember, Matt, I was actually waiting for there to be a bigger carrot in this show other than seeing Steven and Samantha do the episodic mission of the week. I wanted there to be a big carrot. So I really like that just for a small second, they hinted at something bigger and something meatier being a part of the show. The only thing that I don't like about that is that we didn't get more about that. We just got that one initial phone call. And I do hope that in the episodes that we have remaining here, that does come back in some kind of way. Now, I understand that we're not going to get what the writers plan to do with that because, like Matt said just a few moments ago, or earlier on in this episode, this show only lasted 13 episodes. So I know I'm not going to get the conclusion that the writers wanted to give me, but I do want to at least find out why the agency wanted the Blooms back in specifically. The other thing that is floated in this episode that I don't know how I feel about it, I'm going to ask you about it. It's been intimated to us that Steven left the agency for nefarious reasons. So when we found that out, I was like, there's a story cord that you could pull on. But in this episode, we also find out that Samantha left the agency for mysterious reasons. And she doesn't want to tell Steven those mysterious reasons. So I don't like that. I don't like that both of them left the agency under interesting pretenses and they don't want to tell each other why they left. I would rather have one of them have that and use that to create this tension in between that individual who has the information and the other one doesn't. And I would have liked to seen how that information affects the other person. In this situation, I would have loved it if it just would have been Steven, and then having to see how Sam would react to that once she initially found that out. By giving both of them that sort of thing, I left the agency by strange circumstances, and I don't want my partner to know why, that kind of defeats the purpose for me. How do you feel about that?
It's a hat on a hat. So it's like, it was fine when one of them was keeping a secret around these mysterious circumstances, and to have both of them keeping a secret, you're like, well, this is too much. This is unnecessary. So I wasn't a huge fan of that. And again, this is a slightly retooled plot from last week. And then we're slightly retooling, Sam's backstory secret. And we're like, at a certain point, we're going to notice when all the MacGuffins are the same. So, like, I just need a little bit different. And yeah, so I was like, oh, okay. It didn't kind of measure, it didn't move the needle like either way, but I was just like, I don't really care if they do that or not. The other thing they keep doing is that when Sam and Steven get to wherever the fuck it is, the jail, and they're like, we're these inspectors and we got to take a look where this guy escaped from. And the guy goes, yeah, well, your boss is here. He's already in the cell. And I was like, please, God, anyone but Leo. Anyone but Leo. Oh, fuck, Leo is here. So, again, I just don't love this character. And he pops up and they have some banter. And, of course, he becomes a little bit more important later as he's trying to wine and dine this woman. But how do you feel that, like, Leo, I was like, let it be Hoyt. Just let it be Hoyt. Please, not Leo, and it's fucking Leo. Hoyt's here too, and he gets a couple jokes, but we're just always bringing in Leo, and that character's just not working for me.
Here's the thing. Why do the writers keep insisting on bringing Leo into every episode when they're already on the mission? Why doesn't Leo show up earlier? Why is Leo showing up to these places before the Blooms? What is that? Why do they do that? They do kind of give a story reason for it, because at some point, I think it's Sam brings up, why do you keep popping up? And Leo says, oh, the only reason that I'm here is to make sure that you guys got your sea legs. After the agency makes sure that you guys have your sea legs, I'll fuck off. But I'm like, why don't you just have that motherfucker waste of space show up exactly when Shaw does? Have him be there when they get the briefing from Shaw. And hell, have Hoyt be there too. Why in the fucking hell?
I think we're going to end up finding out that Leo is deeper into the why the Blooms are really here story than he's letting on.
Oh, okay.
But I don't know if that's true. I'm just hoping that they would find a hook to later make it more important that this character has been tagging along all the time. Because I'm not digging it. And every time he shows up, it's an eye roll moment for me.
It's very interesting that you say at some point we might find out that Leo really knows the reason why the agency asked the Blooms back in the first place. And when that box is opened or semi-opened, it'll be really interesting to see if the Blooms really turn against Leo, because the Blooms really work with Leo under protest now, because Steven can't stand him because he had sex with his wife, and Samantha's like, I don't know how she really feels about Leo. I think that she appreciates Leo, but she thinks he's kind of sleazy. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think that's true, and that's the character that they've been trying to get us to latch onto. And I'm like, yeah, I feel like they're trying to make him like the fun-loving scoundrel. He's trying to bring some sort of Fletch or, Han Solo light energy, where like he's a scoundrel dirtbag, but like people love him. But to me, he's just this annoying scoundrel dirtbag who, keeps showing up. And I just, when he's whining and dining the evil girlfriend lady and there's a twist, like I just checked out through all of that stuff where I'm just like, okay, you're giving me time with the villains and Leo? That's not what I want here.
Yeah, I mean, look, Leo is like a bad version, and I don't know what you're gonna think about this comparison, but this comparison popped into my head when I was watching this episode in preparation for this conversation. Leo is like a bad version of Sawyer if he was written incompetently, because Sawyer as a character from Lost could have gone so bad, But because the people that wrote him knew what the fuck they were doing, and because they cast Josh Holloway, he gave Sawyer this air of softness to him, right? The actor who plays Leo, and I've seen him in nothing else other than this, but he's just like whatever he's trying to do or whatever direction he was giving is not working. It's not working. He's just a fucking asshole. I don't like assholes.
Yeah, he's got such a highly punchable looking face that every time he shows up, I'm just like, I don't know, man. Like, this guy, he's just rubbing me the wrong way at every turn. And so then the rest of the episode kind of goes how you expect. The Blooms, everything goes south, and then everything ends up being fine. And yeah, like I do understand they want to create a show where you can just jump in. Mystery of the week. You can just enjoy the mystery of the week. But the problem is I don't enjoy the mystery of the week. This would be like if every episode of Fringe, you didn't give a shit at all about the cases on Fringe, which did become a slight problem as Fringe went on in those first 2 seasons, where you didn't care that much about the case of the week because the breadcrumbs they were leaving for the mythology were much more interesting. But then they shifted to full on only a mythology show, which ended up shutting a lot of people out, which is why Bad Robot and this show didn't want to overwhelm us with Mystery Box and breadcrumbs because they want people to be able to tune in.
I had a thought while you were saying your piece there. If JJ and Josh had this idea for the spy show, right? Why in the world didn't JJ go, who do I want for the writing staff? Why don't I get whoever is available? Why don't I get some of my Alias guys? Why don't I do that? What? Like, guys, I know I sound frustrated, but it's because I am frustrated. It seems to me that this show was put together really, really fast and not well enough. Like, it just seems to me that there was potential here, but somebody didn't know how to get to it properly.
I think you're right. And I think the key is, for some reason, they tried to run against everything that Bad Robot does good. They wanted it to be more standalone, less serialized. And it was like, no, you're leaning away from your strengths rather than into your strengths. And also the timing of this show is the thing. Alias is over. Lost is just ending, right? So while they're in pre-pro on this, a lot of those tried and true writers who worked on both Alias and Lost are in the home stretch of Lost. Fringe is running at this time. So like a lot of our guys are on Fringe. So I think that they brought in, a lot of new blood, but they were going for a distinctly not. It was like, hey, let's do Alias, but with no Rambaldi, no SD6. And it's like, wait a minute. SD6 and the double cross and Rambaldi is the thing that makes Alias special. Yeah. So, you're trying to get the Sydney and Vaughn dynamic to be the heart of the show, but Alias only was able to work towards that being the heart of the show because all of the other mystery box elements kept us watching, and the family dynamics of Irina Derevko and Jack Bristow were also so interesting, where like, if they revealed to us something important about the family dynamic on this show, or the fact that if all of a sudden either Sam or Samantha were actually a double agent for someone else, and that's part of why they've been reactivated because the CIA knows that they're actually working with some other group, then that would sort of juice the show in a way that they're trying to make sure they don't repeat Alias, but they're getting too far away from what they do good.
Yeah, and you know what? And I love your suggestion about hinting that Sam's sister would possibly be working for a separate spy organization that that for some reason wanted to recruit the Blooms. So that's why the CIA came to the Blooms in the first place, was to get the Blooms before another spy organization got them. You didn't really necessarily intimate that, but I really, really like where your head's at. And I do want to mention, you can do serialized television, but you can do stories of the week television on a procedural spy show. But here's the thing: you do that, but you spend some time layering your primary characters. You give them backstory, so you make the audience more invested in your actual characters than the story of the week. Because if you do that, you'll have your audience coming back, not for the stories of the week, but for the characters that you use to tell these stories of the week. And they didn't do that. They, for some reason, focused on the stories of the week that we weren't going to see next week.
In 2010, serialized TV was really popular, but network TV thought if you made it story of the week and anybody can just watch any episode, we'll get more ratings. And of course, that ended up not being the case because everybody was so hungry for serialized storytelling. So this show got axed. And now that we're so used to streaming shows where they just get 2 to 3 seasons, they only do 25 episodes, and then they're over, what network TV wants now is they want shows that can run for 10 years where it's not such an intricate serialized story. They want more shows like this. But we're at this weird spot where, like, that's what network wants, and there is an appetite for it, but they want the old shows and they can't bring them back without some weird hook. So this, I think it was all just time. The timing was completely wrong. And Bad Robot is known for mystery box serialized shows. And if not, then they do, sort of more character-based dramas. And this show right now is 25% character, 75% story of the week. And those numbers need to be flipped as soon as fucking possible.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I've really, really liked the sort of subplot idea that Samantha's sister has a drinking problem. And I really like the storyline of this episode that Steven is sort of a human lie detector, and he knows that Samantha's sister, the only reason that she's doing well is because she wants something. And I kind of like the idea that Samantha's sister is trying to get her life back together, and she's trying to prove to Sam that she is capable and that she can run the business by herself. But I really wish that the writers, they're probably not going to do this, but I would have really liked it if the writers pulled on that thread and we saw some flashbacks a la Lost, and we actually saw Samantha's sister before she was this happy-go-lucky person, and we saw her struggles with alcohol. And if we saw those struggles in one episode, it would be cool if the writers could take those struggles and apply them into the current storyline that we're going through in this imaginary episode that I'm making up in my head right now. Well, I see, guys, what I'm telling you guys is just I'm basically writing the show how I would write it, and I'm like, this is cool, this is meaty, this would keep the audience coming back, but we're not getting any of that. And here's one more thing. I swear this is it. And then I'm going to shut up, guys. Why was Steven obsessed with Apple this whole episode? He ate like 3 apples this episode. What the hell? Does he have like an oral fixation that we don't know about?
I thought it was kind of strange. I was like, okay, maybe he was just trying to get his fiber and his natural sugars in. Who knows? But again, the more you were talking about those aspects of, maybe the interesting backstory for the sister or whatever, I keep just thinking, and we mentioned it last week, I really want there to be an episode where the mission is the catering company doing something. And not that I need this show to be The Bear, But if it was Yes Chef, of course, I'd fucking love that. But I think that if we get an episode where we make our cover business more important, because last week when we had more time with Brad Grunberg and the other guy who was competing with the sister, I liked that stuff. And it brings the budget down because you don't need to do crazy spy shit every minute. That if our B storyline is more of the catering company and their hijinks, like, it's totally welcome, because those characters seem like cool characters that I kind of want to get to know. So again, because this got canned so soon, who knows if they had like all of these grand plans that they just never got to enact. But I would like to see more of that. And I also want to see if the catering company goes on a mission and like have Hoyt get involved, because I do, I want to punch Leo, but I fucking love Hoyt. So all his dumb shit I think is really funny. And I'd like to see him be awkward around Lizzie and have to do something with the catering company and the Blooms, even if he's pretending to be like the guy that they're catering for or something. I think there's like a lot of fun dynamics that we certainly haven't explored in the first 4 episodes, but we still have, 9 episodes to go. So next week, guys, we will be talking about episode 5, Not Without My Daughter, as we continue our journey on Undercovers. So Marcelo, if people like the pod, they should like, follow, subscribe. They can do that anywhere they get podcasts. If they leave a comment or a review, we'll read it on the show. You are taking care of the YouTube side of things, where we're posting everything on YouTube as well. Let the people know all about that.
Yeah, if you like our show and you want to hear back catalogs of our show, but you're not savvy enough to understand how a podcast works, we are available on YouTube. Our YouTube is youtube.com/radio815_pod. So you can find us there. I'm doing some really, really interesting stuff with those episodes, because I'm changing all the backgrounds. I'm switching out all the thumbnails. So if you go over there, it will be greatly appreciated, because that's my house. I do all the cleaning and stuff there. So you're welcome to come there. Give us a watch, give us a like, and write us a comment. And we are also now available on Discord. So if you use Discord, and if you know what that is, a link to our Discord channel will be in the description of whatever of this video, and it will be also in the description of the podcast version if you're listening to that.
Perfect. So that's where you can find all the current and back catalog. And again, if you have found us because you are a huge fan of Undercovers and are still listening, you haven't been mad at us for trashing it. We do have past episodes of, frankly, better Bad Robot stuff. Alias, Felicity, Lost, Fringe. What about Brian? ? So you can check that stuff out there. If you guys want to interact with me, the only spot to do it is on the best movie website in the world, letterboxd.com. I am on there. My handle is MDC3000. Marcelo is still hanging out on X. And how can they get in touch with you over there, Marcelo?
If you want to come and conversate with me about the Undercovers and how you wish it was different and how wish it was better, you can come and conversate with me. I am at X. My handle is CreekFanatic88. So
that'll do it. Until next time, thanks so much for listening. Radio 815, over and out.
Radio 815 is a Balloonhead Productions presentation in association with Killer Newt Productions.